this is actually insane. So as soon as Kamala Harris picked Tim Walz, well, maybe not as soon as, maybe 2 days later, I started noticing this rhetoric from a lot of leftists online. And it wasn't just online. It was like people on MSNBC and stuff. But a lot of people started this thing where they were calling Donald Trump and Tim Walz and MAGA people, calling them weird, calling them strange, and kind of pitching the Democratic Party as the ticket of normalcy, which is insane to me, because you can only really make that claim if you either haven't really been paying attention to American politics over the past like 6 to 10 years, or if you yourself are weird and strange yourself. And I think the problem with this is not an attack made out of any good faith. These are people who are just throwing things at the wall to see if anything is going to stick when it comes to defending Kamala Harris against Donald Trump, just because there are no obvious, there may be some obvious advantages, but there are scarce obvious advantages to having Kamala Harris as president versus Donald Trump on a policy front, that you really just have to struggle for any sort of like emotional appeal that can knock down Donald Trump. The problem is he survived so many of those. I think he's probably going to survive these too. But the thing is that many of these things the Democrats are saying apply to themselves, right? So if you're saying that Donald Trump and JD Vance are weird, right? Well, the first thing that Kamala did when she ran for president is literally shoot a video with RuPaul's Drag Race, which, I mean, love him or hate him, being a drag queen is pretty weird. And here's the video that she shot with them.
Hi, everyone. It's Kamala Harris. Each day, we are seeing our rights and freedoms under attack, including the right of everyone to be who they are, love who they love, openly and with pride. So as we fight back against these attacks,
I don't know, what is she even referring to? Are fundamentalist Baptists trying to bring back like the sodomy laws? What is she talking about?
With pride. So as we fight back against these attacks, let's all remember, no one is alone. We are all in this together, and your vote is your power. So please make sure your voice is heard this night.
What is that? Oh my goodness. Now I see why Milo Yiannopoulos made fun of Leslie Jones. Like, bro, what was that?
Your power. So please make sure your voice is heard this November and register to vote at vote.gov.
Can I get an amen?
Amen. Now on with the show.
And remember, you better vote.
Bro. Okay, so you want to know what's weird? These people are weird, right? You have like literal drag performers, and Kamala Harris is cozying up to them. So you want to talk about weird? Man, maybe that's a little bit weird. You want to talk about something else that might be a little bit weird? Maybe advocating for men to be in women's restrooms. This is something else that's relatively weird. Just starting in the first paragraph alone here, it says Attorney General, and this is from 2016, by the way, so not too long ago. Maybe it feels like such a long time ago because of Trump and COVID and stuff. But it says here, Attorney General Kamala Harris today announced that California has joined Friend of the Court briefs in 2 cases supporting transgender rights. The briefs challenge a recently passed state law denying transgender people access to single-sex bathrooms and similar facilities in schools and workplaces consistent with their gender identity, which is probably in opposition to biology in reality. And support the United States in efforts to ensure that transgender individuals are protected against discriminatory practices that threaten their privacy and public safety. Ooh, so scary. But here... it is kind of funny. But here, like, this is Kamala Harris very clearly and unequivocally saying, yes, put the men in the women's restrooms. Well, I mean, that's a little bit odd, isn't it? Yeah, it's a little bit odd. Now, there's another thing, too, where they were also saying that Donald Trump is too old. I think it was this here. It says Trump gave another reason why he's too old to run for president, and Democrats should not shy away from it, right? Let's see here. In a Washington Post ABC News poll taken after the presidential debate in June, 86% of Americans said President Joe Biden was too old to serve a second term. True, based, valid. This survey into the findings played an essential role in Biden's decision to depart the presidential race, directly rebutting the president's contention that only donors and media elites wanted him not to run. Let's see here, and yet since Biden dropped out, it has been largely forgotten that many voters are also rightly concerned about Donald Trump's age. In the same post-ABC poll, 60% of Americans, including 65% of independents, said Trump is too old for another term. The question of Trump's age has been largely forgotten. Now, to be fair, I was actually talking with a friend about this recently. Donald Trump, I think, has been showing signs of aging, and I think that they're not insanely concerning, but you can tell that he's getting older. Now, 60% is like peanuts in comparison to 86%. So they're comparing oranges to tangerines here. But while some outlets did acknowledge Joe Biden's age problem, right? Chris Cillizza at CNN said the age question is catching up to Joe Biden. Other outlets said that it's a weaponized critique rather than a genuine one. So they don't so the people who are saying, oh, Donald Trump is too old to run for president. Homie, you were voting for Joe Biden. You supported him in the primary process. You rooted for him to get a nomination. So how in the world are you going to say that Donald Trump is too old? That's just peak hypocrisy. Peak hypocrisy. Another thing that Democrats have been saying too is, oh, well, Donald Trump is a felon, right? Donald Trump is a felon. Well, Joe Biden would be a felon too if it wasn't that he was an elderly man with a poor memory, making which, frankly, it really still should have had him charged. But what was it? Hold on. We have also considered that at trial, Mr. Biden would likely present to a jury, as he did during our interview of him, as a sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. Right? So the reason why he's not a felon is that he's old, not because he is someone who follows the law dutifully. Right? So, Trump is a felon because Democrats don't like him. Biden's the felon because he's an elderly man with a poor memory. Hey, pick your fighter. Oh my goodness. So these hypocritical arguments from the left side of the aisle, they really are not worth very much. They can be so easily pointed right back at them. And it boggles my mind that they would even be willing to utter these aloud because of how easily they can be turned back upon them, especially because they apply a lot more to themselves. People can say J.D. Vance is weird for the way he walks, the way he talks, all you want to. But we've got Kamala Harris over here prancing around with drag queens and rooting for men to be put in women's restrooms. That's not just weird, that's lunacy, okay? So, I'd rather be weird, than delusional. That's what I would prefer personally. But even then, in that comparison, the Republicans aren't the one that look that weird. It's the Democrats that look weird, right? So I feel like these are just important things to remember when looking at these things that the Democrats are saying. And I think I've noticed that some of this rhetoric has sort of been toned down as they've realized that these calls and claims, "Oh, Donald Trump is weird," don't really sting because we've seen what makes you cheer, my friend. We've seen what makes you cheer. Just remember, when people are accusing like very normal people, like J.D. Vance, who in general, he's a little awkward, but I mean, most of us would be too if we had cameras on them. Accusing people like him of being weird, often the people saying that are stranger than the people they're accusing of the weirdness. So it's just an interesting thing that I thought was humorous and worth pointing out.